Welcome to Spotlight on Chabot. My name is Catherine Pincus and I'm an instructor in the Business and Technology Division. And today I have with me a special guest, Derek Havel. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you, Catherine. Happy to be here.
Derek has been a student at Chabot College, and he now works in a sector that everyone is hearing a lot about in the business world, which is in green technology. So I thought it'd be very interesting for us to hear a little bit about Derek's story, how he went from Chabot into his current venture. So Derek, let's start. When did you go to Chabot College?
Started here in 1982.
In 1982. And how long did you study at Chabot College?
I was here 4 years, working part-time and going to school part-time.
And that's very typical of our students, having to both work and go to school. And so you managed to do the program in 4 years. And then where did you go after that?
Cal State Hayward, so right up the hill.
And how long did it take you to finish your undergraduate degree?
I did that in just 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. And I understand that you studied forestry? Is that what you studied?
It was actually Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation.
Right.
So we have not yet gotten to how you got to the energy business.
Right. I started out, a friend of mine told me about a position in Silicon Valley and selling computer electronics and circuit board components. So I studied on my own a little bit more for about a year, and interviewed and was hired for a sales position in a very small company with about 10 people in Silicon Valley called Components Center.
And now you work for a company. I have a brochure here on the table. It's called Gexpro. And what it seems to say is that you're now working as an account manager, and an account manager deals with the clients and customers, correct?
Correct.
Okay, as an account manager for energy-saving products plus green know-how. So you've continued to expand.
That's right.
In this world. And I think that's another thing I wanted the students to understand, is because jobs are changing so rapidly. And what Derek has just explained is that he's moved from one field into another by additional learning after college and being able to move and be flexible because he had sales skills. He was able to move into the industry he's in. I thought what would be really nice for us would be to have Derek tell us about a recent example of the kind of way you address clients and how you talk about energy savings, because there's another part to this whole process, Derek, and that is that students often don't know or understand how exactly what we teach them ends up being applicable. So in the business world, we teach things like return on investment. And the idea is that when a customer buys something, they want to know how long it's going to take them to make their money back. And then what kind of calculations might be necessary for that, because we throw a lot of business math at students as well. And then how you explain things to customers by using PowerPoints, by using slides that provide really salient information. And you brought, I think, today some excellent slides with you, which we're going to share with the students, and I'm going to let you tell us exactly what that presentation was all about.
Okay, great. I'll start out by telling you a little bit about Gexpro. Gexpro is an 80-year-old, originally a GE, General Electric company. And we were bought by another large corporation called Rexel last year. And Rexel, in their infinite wisdom, has started us down the path of selling green energy solutions. And things like solar cells, premium efficiency motors, green lighting for indoor and outdoor lighting applications, lots of things that will meter, measure, monitor, and help you save on your energy bill. And my job as an account manager is to go out and meet with customers and help them discover how to justify the expense of projects. If they're going to, before you put in a solar panel, or before you spend a lot of money on changing all your lighting in your business, you need to justify the budget. You need to figure out also what is going to be your return on investment, and you need to know what PG&E might help you with, and the government might help you with, as far as rebates and incentives to do those projects before you go out and buy anything at all. If you can present that information to your manager, then you're much more likely to have success in getting budget. I do that for my customers.
That is excellent. And you have a demonstration set of slides here that kind of are part of what you do when you make your presentation.
Correct.
Okay, and so let's take a look at this first slide. And this one's called Project Initiation.
Right. I recently did a workshop seminar and invited several dozen of our customers to come here to Hayward. Actually, Gexpro is in Hayward, and they came, and this was the introduction to that seminar, and it's talking about justifying the budget for green projects. This particular project was about pumps and motors. All the water that you drink and that you use and that industries use everywhere in the world is pumped by pumps and motors. There are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of high horsepower motors and pumps out there, even right here in Hayward. So the first slide basically talks about identifying your suspected power offender. In this case, it was pumps and motors.
So a power offender is one that might be using more energy than perhaps it should.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's very inefficient, or at least we suspect it's inefficient, because maybe the motor is 10 years or 20 years or even 30 years old. And so we want to, the next step is to establish a baseline of power consumption. So you take a meter, which we also sell, and you meter and monitor the power use of that particular motor over a period of time.
That's to get the idea. I think my understanding is that a baseline is really what's going on right now.
Exactly.
So if you're going to measure efficiencies, you have to know what's happening now, and then you can measure later what improvements you've made.
Exactly.
Good. Okay.
So you monitor, you measure, and you discover also how much are you paying for your electricity. The reason you do that is so when you do your calculations, you find out how much that motor is costing you to run. So if PG&E tells you you're paying 10 cents per kilowatt hour or 20 cents per kilowatt hour, you can use that and do simple math, multiply that times your kilowatts consumed. So it's kilowatts times the 10 cents will give you your total consumption in dollars.
And the reason that's important is because PG&E has meters just for large volumes of equipment that are
Correct.
using electricity. And so what you're trying to do is, in this particular case, specify a particular pump. Right. So that you have that information. So that's the use of that. And then, right. Then you have an idea of your baseline.
That's exactly right, Catherine. And we want to know specifically which pumps and motors are running inefficiently. And again, this can be applied equally to a large lighting system and other industrial or commercial energy users. So From that, you calculate what your potential return on investment might be if you then put a brand new motor in that's supposed to be a premium efficiency motor.
That's good. And can we take a look at the next slide? Thank you.
So the next slide talks about the Public Utilities Commission and PG&E. They sponsored a project for 5 to 6 water producers here in the state of California. These are the public utilities that pump fresh water into your homes and businesses. And they said that if you could prove to us that you're going to be more efficient, then we'll give you a lot of money. For this particular project, they offered over $100,000 to each of these agencies to prove efficiency.
And so students might wonder why PG&E would offer $100,000 to improve efficiency.
Good
Is
question.
that because it's very expensive to generate electricity?
Exactly. That's a leading question. Yeah, exactly. It's more expensive for PG&E now and municipals and the government in general to build a new power plant, a power station, and in the hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in today's world, than it is to make their current customers more efficient. So they've come up with lots of incentives and programs like this to help their customers become more efficient.
Excellent. And so here we have some steps and stages.
Yep. So the first step in this particular project that we introduced to our customers was test the motor and the pump efficiency. So a pump testing company came out with their meter, and they established the baseline. The tools that they have can tell them through some calculations how efficient that motor and pump are pumping water based on the flow and the electricity consumed. The next step was to look at a variable frequency drive, which is a tool that's already installed at the pump location that controls the speed of a motor. Because at nighttime, consumers use less water than during the daytime. So you want to be able to control the flow. That's what a VFD does for you.
Okay.
We run that at full speed to set a new baseline. So we know initially what it's doing, and then we know what it's doing at full speed. Then we introduced a computer to that system to try to hold that motor and pump in its optimal efficiency running area. Then the next step was adding a new high efficiency pump, and then a new high efficiency motor.
Excellent. Can we see the next slide, please?
This slide basically tells us over time how many kilowatts you're consuming in your system. And there's different colors. One of the things that's significant to understand about energy usage and power consumption is that over time it goes up forever. It continually goes up. In other words, you're always using energy unless you make that system more efficient, which this slide also shows. Through those different stages from the last slide, it's showing that we became more and more efficient. We were at 39%, and then we went to 56%, and to 80%. It's showing the improvements in efficiency and the reduction in kilowatt consumption.
So let's break that down just a little bit for the students. What is the vertical axis? So that's the one that's going up. What does that measure?
Yeah, that's the kilowatt. That's the kilowatt consumption.
And then the baseline, the base or the horizontal one, is that time?
Correct.
Okay. And then the colors, the blue color, is that the baseline measurement that you took?
The lowest, or I should say the highest one on the chart is actually the lowest one. So it's a little bit confusing, but if you look very closely at the numbers, we start out at about 39%.
Okay.
But it's actually higher on the chart because it's using more energy over time.
So that's the red line.
Right. So the higher the line is on the chart, the lower the efficiency.
Okay. And so what was the blue line? What did you add or change to get the blue line?
The blue line was when we added the computer. We were using the variable frequency drive at its optimal efficiency by, there was some software programming and some things that went into those systems interacting, or it created sort of an intelligent system to make it more efficient, make the pump and the motor more efficient.
The existing pump and motor.
Existing pump and motor more efficient.
And then the yellow line.
And then, well, at each stage we're adding a step. So the next step would be maybe adding a new pump, and then the next stage is adding a new motor.
So the blue line then, instead of is the most efficient.
That's the most efficient, right?
And that included a new pump, a new motor, and some sort of efficiency control by the computer.
Correct.
And that's what your company works together with others to achieve.
That's correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Can we see the next slide, please? And this is the same thing, but this is over time. Explain this slide to us.
Yeah. This slide also is your kilowatt, total kilowatts consumption over time. So it's very similar. The last slide showed was in relationship to the efficiency of actually pumping water, and then this slide again just shows kilowatt consumption over time.
So if our students were considering eventually just giving a presentation like this, what tool did you use to draw these slides?
Just standard PowerPoint.
So this is PowerPoint, okay. And did you gather the data with Excel or other ways? How did you prepare the data?
Yeah, the data was gathered through a software called a historian,
Okay.
which can gather really thousands of points of information per second.
Okay.
It's an extremely high-end historical database that can collect just almost an infinite amount of data over time. And then you can extrapolate that data using a basic tool like Excel.
Okay. What does the word extrapolate mean?
Pulling it out.
Pulling it out. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Here we have some numbers. I don't know, can you see those from here?
I know, I can't see them, but I know what they are.
Okay.
So basically this shows a 5-year scenario based on the efficiency gains that we got. We start with 39% up to the 80% percentile efficiency improvement. We saved, there are some numbers here that show the kilowatt hours, but the most important thing is that when we did the math at 10 cents a kilowatt hour, it actually shows $75,000 in savings on one pump, one motor in 1 year.
Oh my goodness, $71,000 savings.
Yeah.
So that $100,000?
75,000.
75,000.
Yeah.
So that $100,000 that PG&E was willing to invest was basically recouped in slightly over a year.
Correct.
And that's what we mean by return on investment when we're talking about that.
Exactly.
Now there's the life of the motor. I think you have a 5-year chart here. What's the save? Is that over 5 years?
That's just 5 years. Yeah, in 5 years, it's $357,000 of savings at only 10 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh my gosh! So this is something that probably companies can appreciate right away as being something wonderful to do, and
That's right.
with a little bit of investment by PG&E or others, they can recoup their investment. So this is why I think the solutions we're looking for in the green world are win-win solutions.
That's right. You're not just saving energy, but you're saving jobs, because that $300,000 can go to keep people employed or even hire more people. So you can see some of the real positive results from saving energy.
Well, I know that PG&E has a very long list of things they'd like to do, and certainly their $100,000 investment, or $375,000, was that what it was?
It's $357,000 roughly.
That could keep a number of people working for quite a while.
Absolutely.
And is that the last slide we're looking at here?
Yeah, that was the last one. It was the dollar amount that was the really positive result that we got. The total efficiency gain through all the stages of the project, it was so significant because we were able to come up with these nice dollar figures that not only justified the project, but made PG&E happy, helped our customer, and justified the cost of all the new equipment that we wanted to sell and they wanted to purchase.
It sounds like a very rewarding job.
Yes.
And so I really want to thank you for taking us through this today. Derek, if you had any advice for our students as they're struggling through their studies, and many of them trying to do what you've done, which is took 4 years to accomplish the degree that you got here, and then went on to very successful and, even more important, meaningful work. What would you recommend to our students? Any thoughts?
I would say do what you love, and working in the green energy field is really an excellent beginning. I think we need to become more and more efficient in this world, and there are a lot of programs and incentives out there to help you help your customers or your employers benefit from those.
Excellent. And so the courses the students might want to consider taking right now, just in an undergraduate level?
Well, even just your general education, I would think also business courses, and of course your engineering or pre-engineering classes are helpful.
Excellent. Okay, Derek, thank you so much for taking time to meet with us
Absolutely, my
today.
pleasure.
And this is Catherine Pincus with Derek Havel for Spotlight on Chabot. Thank you very much.